My name is JT, and this is a story about how I built my homestead. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of JT Time. JT here. We are back at the house today. As you can see, I'm opening up the barbecue pit because we are ready to barbecue. And today, or on today's agenda, we're probably going to be knocking out the other French doors. We're going to fix that. We're going to fix the main entry doorway. And then after that, or while we're doing that, we're going to be also smoking some ribs. As y'all know, I still don't have electricity here. I scheduled it for yesterday, and the city guys, they have a 7-day tolerance pretty much, so they can come anytime in the next 7 days. So I got to figure out a way to work with the gate so they can get access to the house, but also keep all my stuff locked away so that nobody, no strangers or any kind of thieves can come in and check out the house and scope it out. So let's hope that I can figure something out doing that. And if I knock out those two, I'll just continue taking out the fire backing or fire blocking that I had put up on the house. So let's go ahead and get started. Of course, with barbecue, the first thing you do is you're gonna knock out the wood and get the charcoals ready. So let me show y'all what I'm going to use instead of my typical setup with the fan and the heating element starter. Since I don't have electricity, I don't want to pull out the generator. I'm being a little lazy. So let me see what this does. I've done this at a friend's house before, so I'm going to see if I can replicate it here. So let me go ahead and pull everything out, and I'll meet you back at the firebox. Alright? See y'all soon. Alright, so we're back here at the firebox. Let me go ahead and stack this up again. I'm just going to leave the ash there just because we're doing ribs today. So really, general rule for ribs is what you want. I don't really base it off temperature, I just base it off the time. These are beef ribs. I think last time I did a video for you guys, it was over pork ribs. So the only difference here is that there is no difference. Maybe the seasoning. The seasoning is salt and pepper, coarse salt, coarse ground pepper. I don't plan on changing anything else up. I've done this before with beef ribs too, and it came out perfect. So I don't even base it off temperature. So it's a little different than I would like a brisket or any other type of cut of meat, essentially. So let me just go ahead and set up this tower right here. There we go. I think that'll work. All right, and now I picked this up for $15, guys. $15. It's a propane tank and a little torch. This is a soldering torch. So we'll see if it works. I mean, it has a pretty sharp flame, only for the fact that it's meant for soldering. But for 15 bucks, you can't go wrong with that. And it also came with all these other parts too, and a little piece of copper even if I wanted. But I don't have copper inside the house, so it's not really that big of a deal. Let's take a look and see. So this is my little starter right here. Let's go ahead and I know I told you guys I don't really like chemicals, but this is just a charcoal, so I'm hoping it doesn't go into the meat. But I mean, if it does go into the meat, then I just won't use this technique again. I'll just use this as a soldering kit. So there we go. See that nice flame right there? Alright, let's see. There. And then what I did with this is I just more or less just made some really nice charcoal out of it, to be honest. So I just kind of started up. You guys are looking down at the ground. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and get in a good position here. Give you guys a nice little view. And I'm not trying to burn all of the wood. What I did that really worked for me is I just burned one little section of the wood, and I just got it really, really hot. So I'm just gonna keep staying right here in this little spot. Just gonna keep heating this up, getting it pretty much hot to the core, to be honest. Okay. There we go, that's pretty hot right there. Okay, so let's see if that keeps going. Let's hope that that keeps going. While that's going, let's go and season these ribs up. Plate ribs, yum. Good. Okay. Got myself my little cold brew coffee that I made from home. Okay. Just go ahead and dust this on real quick. This is half and half, so I mean, if you're not careful, you end up over salting. So you gotta be careful to not over salt your stuff. So it's gonna end up not being as much pepper as I would like. Usually what I do, because this is my brisket rub, so what I'll do is I'll actually dust on afterwards some additional let's see, is that little film taken off? I think I want to take that off. So what I'll actually do is I'll dust on additional pepper after I work on the I'll dust on some additional pepper after I actually do the salt and pepper blend. So this is really just me being particular. You don't have to take off this membrane, but I like to. It's not very it kind of blocks off the actual protein from getting the meat. So, and I think you've seen me do this before, like with my spare ribs, or my pork spare ribs. So this is just me doing that again, pretty much. Take this little membrane off. Alright. Sometimes you can pour oil to have the seasoning stick a little bit more, but this I just took out of the fridge, you know. So it's pretty seasoned up. I mean, it's pretty. There's a good amount of moisture on it, so I'm not too worried about that on it. I am definitely worried about over seasoning this, so I don't want to go too crazy with the seasoning. So if you're not careful, they'll definitely bite you in the butt. Bone side down. That's pretty much it. Bone side down. All we really need to do is make this fire work. So let me go ahead and keep Boy Scouting this fire up, you know. Alright, so what I did was I replicated what I typically do at my friend's house when I smoke on their smoker, which is I closed all the lids, so all the lids are closed now. And what I'm really doing here is I'm forcing the air circulation. So I'm heating this up, but the hot air is floating up. It's going into the smoker and then out of the smokestack. And when you have that kind of motion, you're forcing airflow into here, because as the air exits from the smokestack, it continues to pull more air in. So it's kind of like makeup air, right? Like if you pull air out of the pit due to the hot heat that's coming out of the fire pit, you're gonna end up pulling in new air to fill in that space that that air used to take up. So I think this is gonna work. I'm pretty sure it is. I can already feel how much hotter the fire pit is this time around, and I barely have spent any time just heating this guy up at all. So I have a feeling this is gonna work. I'll go ahead and stop heating this up very soon and just see if it keeps going, pretty much see if the fire keeps going. I do need to go ahead and put in my temperature gauge, because once it starts getting hot enough to where I can start locking in the cook time at the start time, I can go ahead and start controlling the temperature from that point forward, because I don't want it to get too hot. That's the part I need to be careful about. So this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and see. Oop, wrong direction. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Yeah, so let's see what this looks like as far as this goes. And then what I'm hoping for is we're going to be close to 275. If not, I'll just come back whenever I think it's going to be hotter in here. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that in. Alright, so that's in place. We're at, according to this, 86 degrees. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll find out soon enough. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. 102. It sounds like it's continuing to burn. Yep. I think I'm good. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I think it'll just keep burning pretty much now that it has that air circulation again. So, I mean, I'm more or less replicating what I've done in the past, guys. You know, I have what the fan would have done, which is pull air in. And then I got the exhaust going out. I got a really nice heat source here that's insulated by the box. And I'm happy with this. So let me go ahead and meet you guys back there with all the tools that I specified yesterday, and we'll just keep knocking that guy out. We're back inside the house now. We're working on the second French doors, and let me show y'all what it looks like once I shot the laser on it. So this is the laser, and remember what I said earlier, right? I thought based on the way the door was closing, it needs to move to the left. So based on what I'm seeing in the laser, I think I'm right. So essentially what I've done is I lined up the edge of the laser with one of the edges. I chose the top edge this time because if I did the bottom edge, the laser would end up falling over here since I have to move the door to the left. So if you look, it's right there on the edge here. And as you travel down, it starts to pretty much go almost halfway. So we got almost like maybe half an inch to maybe 3/8 of an inch to move this door. So first step for me right now, based on what I learned during the last door, is let's remove all the screws that we can in the door. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Let's go ahead and shoot this side too, and if it shows us the exact same thing as this side, then that means I'm gonna have to pull off all the borders like I said, and also kind of just assume that we're in almost the same situation over on the other French doors, where I have to move the entire top board to the left as well. Okay, so let me remove the top border, and I'm gonna take a look at it, see what I have, and see if I can actually move the board over to the left a little bit. If not, might run into some issues. So let's take a look at it and see. So I was able to pull them off. You'll see it's kind of like part way. There's a little bit of a gap there, and I sort of did the same thing for that. I don't know if y'all can see that, but there's a small gap right there. But it's just enough so that as I move it, there's a little bit of play in the door, and that's what I'm gonna try to do. So now I got this set here, so I'm just gonna more or less hammer this in. Just see if I can get this moved over. And of course, you have to remember that I need to actually straighten out the door too. Okay, there we go. That's pretty much right there. I'm happy with that. And then now let's go ahead and start continue moving up pretty much. Alright guys, so we're back at it again. I've straightened out the bottom already. I've straightened out up to here. It's pretty much, the line is right there where the, I don't know if I can, maybe that helps a little bit. I don't know if that helps, probably not. But anyways, it's right on the edge, the entire length. It does bow out a little bit here, but I can always pull that back in with a screw or something. So I'm not too worried about that. But I mean, some key details to keep in mind is anytime you screw in stuff, you have to screw, it's always advisable to screw in through where you're shimming at, only because if you screw in anywhere else, like these gaps right here, you're gonna end up pulling the trim in or out, and you really don't want to do that to your trim. Another tip of advice for you guys is that when you do this, typically you want to shim right where the hinges are, because that's essentially where most of your weight distribution between your door and your frame is at, your border is at. So I try my best to do that here, but I think that's pretty much it. I'm happy with how straight that is now. I'm going to shoot the laser on this side to make sure that the door is actually straight like this, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, it is. Because if it is, then I can just screw it in, and pretty much that'll be my base for framing out the rest of the door. So let's take a look at it and hope for the best. Yay! So we pretty much lucked out here. It's pretty level. It's not perfect by any means. It's definitely not perfect, but it's enough to where I'm happy. I'm happy with that. If there was a way to correct it, it would probably be to bring it out a little bit more on top. It's just a tad bit off, but it's not enough to where I would try to do anything different. Let me see if I can hit it out on top. Let me see if that helps it move out a little bit, but I don't think it will. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now that it's pretty much there, I'm gonna go ahead and screw this in, and I'll meet you back up once I start doing crosses, plumbness checks, and stuff like that. So, all right, catch you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, so let me show y'all what I did. I pretty much went ahead and straightened out this entire thing. I'm really happy with this. This is super straight. And this is a key door too. This is a door from the kitchen into the backyard patio area. So I really want this to be like perfection essentially. So let me continue working, and I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did last time. And one thing that I do want to note is that most of the screws, I think pretty much all of my screws that I put in were all behind this weather strip. That's normally how you would install these doors. You want to hide the screws. You really don't want to damage the frame like this, like they did. So I'm gonna have to get my either sheetrock guys to patch this up for me, or maybe even wood guy to patch this up for me, one or the other. But this is all gonna need to be patched up and repainted because it just looks like crap. And I mean, this is when you get amateurs doing the job. I mean, I'm an amateur too, but you know, a few YouTube videos show me exactly what I need to do. But yeah, you go behind the weather strip and you do one at every single plate essentially, and you do want to make sure you shim that side, that particular spot too. So I did one here, there's one behind this plate, there's one behind this plate, and there's one up that top plate. I've heard mixed reviews about doing any bolts on the top plate. I really don't. I don't like doing one up there because that usually means that you're bowing the top, and that's usually where your seal's at. If you do one at the top, shim. Make sure you shim. That's all. It's the only real advice I can give you there. But otherwise, I think that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and do my little plumb test and straighten out this left side. I'm really fingers crossed hoping that this gets done like this side, where it wasn't too much of me fighting the door. So we'll see, and I'll just pretty much update you on any kind of issues that I have. That way maybe you can learn from that, and you know, when you do it on your own door, it's not as hard. All right, see you in a little bit. So we have a problem. Let me describe the problem to you, and I'll let you know what happened, or I'll explain what I'm gonna do to solve it. So when I closed the door, this side is level, but when I closed the door, the bottom was hitting, so it's not supposed to do that. And that's the reason why it's not supposed to do that is because the bottom is supposed to be level. So I shot the laser on the bottom, and of course it's not level. And of course it's the harder thing for me to fix. So essentially I'll tell you what that is. Remember when I told you that when you're installing these doors, you always want a grate base, and the grate base is defined by pretty much straight up and down in both directions, whether it be this way or this way. And in addition to that, this side has to be the higher side of the two if your bottom plate is not level. In this situation, the bottom plate's not level, and in this situation, that side is actually the lower. So in other words, I cannot make this left side over here go any lower, which means that the bottom plate will always forever be unlevel. So the only way I can fix this is to unscrew all the screws that I did, all the beautiful work that I've done, and pretty much raise this side up. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I got a little wedge down there. I'm actually gonna wedge this underneath it and pretty much just shim it up, really. So let me go ahead and shim it up, get it to the point where it is level, and then I'm gonna have to re-level this wall in this direction and in this direction. So boring stuff, but let me go ahead and knock this out real quick and I'll update you all. And hopefully when I close this door after that, it'll close just fine, and then we can move on with the project. All right, see y'all real soon. All right guys, moment of truth. I've screwed in everything. I've committed to the elevation that I've raised this door to. I really hope this works. All right, let's see. Ooh, yeah, that works really well. Yeah, so that actually closed. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's definitely not perfect. It's a little snug on the bottom, and it's a little big of a gap on top. But it's really difficult to actually lift this door up, to be honest. Man, that's gonna bother me. I already know it. All right, guys. So second or third time's the charm, right? Let's see here. Okay, yeah, that looks great. That looks great. There's a little bit of a gap on the bottom, which is exactly where I want it to be anyways. And then I'll show you what the top looks like. There's a little bit of a gap on top. It's definitely not perfect. Like if you look at it, there's a little bit of a gap here, but I mean, it's blocked by the weather strip, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's go ahead and, I'm ready to try to finish installing this door, or reinstalling this door, I should say. So let me go ahead and run my lines over here to straighten this out, and then I'll do my plumb lines or my plumb strings to see whether or not it's plumbed or not. Okay? All right, so I'll see you here in a little bit. All right, so I have set up my plumb lines, and you can see here that they are barely just touching. Like if I were to take the lines and move them out from the edge of the board, they wouldn't be touching here anymore. So this door is pretty much plumb. I'm pretty happy about that. I went ahead and checked another way. Another way you could check for plumbness is the rope technique. I think is the easiest by far. But another way to check it is just to shoot a laser or level it out in the in-plane direction. So I shot the laser here. It's pretty much right on the edge, and then if you follow it straight up, it's pretty much all the way to the edge. And that's how you know that your door is perfectly straight in this direction and in this direction. And I mean, the issue that you can have with the string test is that if your baseboard that you're basing everything off of, or your main structure that you're basing it off of, if that's not level, then this whole line strategy goes all out of whack, because technically the door is all parallel in one one dimension, but it could be tilted, you know, forward or backwards as a result, depending on how well you leveled this out. So that's one thing that you should be careful about. But other than that, I'm actually good with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you guys, let me show y'all how level it is straight on. So let's go ahead and shoot the laser here. So you can see here, it's pretty much on the edge here. It goes inward a little bit, so I'll have to shim this out right here to get it pretty much level again. And then as you go up, I need to shim it back out, and then when you get to the very top, it blows back out again. And that's mainly because of the shoddy job that was done here. Beforehand, they kind of just bowed that member out. So I got to fix that with shims and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and shim that all up and use the same concept that I told you guys earlier of screwing in one long screw at each one of the hinges, and we'll be done with this door pretty much. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, see y'all in a little bit. All right, guys, after hours of fighting with this door, I finally got it set up. Let me tell y'all pretty much what I had to work through. So the framing was all plumb. It was all level up and down. The only thing I did not account for, which I was hoping this wasn't the case, is that the actual width of the base is larger than the width at the top. And a lot of that normally should never happen. It probably happened here because the person that installed this just did such a shoddy job that they were moving around the boards and didn't realize that they were actually compressing the top. So pretty much what that meant for me was that the bottom actually closed properly, but the very, very top, it slanted because it was compressed. So essentially the doors were hitting in the middle. So what I did to fix that essentially was I had to unscrew these two bolts right here for these two hinges and pretty much remove the shims and move it to the left a little bit to open up the top gap a little bit more. I could have done it on the right hand side too, but I really didn't want to touch the right hand side because that's my base. I never really want to touch my base and where I'm measuring everything off of. In addition to that, I sunk the let me show you. I sunk the plates for the door a little further in, so I pretty much shimmed these back a little bit more. Not shimmed these back, but carved out the back a little bit more and sunk the middle a little bit more, especially the top one. I sunk that one in a lot, just because, you know, as I move this door to the right, it is starting to go out of level, essentially. So normally you don't want to do that. Normally, if I were to redo this entire installation, I would measure everything and then just make sure that it's plumb and it's also not, it's equal in width all the way up. So let me show you the doors closing now and what it looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock this guy up. Lock this one right here as well. Okay. And then I'm gonna close this now. Yep. It closes perfectly, and actually the seam looks great all the way up, so pretty happy with it. Even at the top, it's pretty much leveled out as well. It doesn't have that crazy gap. This trim piece is just, I'm probably gonna have to pull this trim piece off completely and recut it to the new size, and I may have to do it over here as well. Actually, I may not. There's a gap there now, so I think I can just nail this back in and pretty much be done with that. I'll just have to fix that right side. So again, this door was originally, it was all the way shifted to the left. I shifted it to the right. So that's pretty much it for that door. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break here, hang out with some family. I got the wife in and kids, and father-in-law's in as well, so we're gonna hang out for a little bit. So all right, guys, so we're back here at the end of the episode. I got my father-in-law with me right here. And he did help me out with fixing this door. Pretty much, like I said, the way this door was set up was this side over here was just a little bit lower, I think it was higher. Yeah, this side was higher than this side right here. So we need to lift this side up or lower that side, but we don't really want to touch this side just because it was already shimmed at the base. So I went ahead and just pretty much lifted up this side. So what we did to lift it was whoever installed this door did a lot better of a job installing it than the French doors in the back, because they did what I and my father-in-law would probably do here. They just took out one of the screws in each of these plates, and they replaced it with a 3-inch screw, which essentially lets you hit right into the 2x4 framing. So I think that was the really clean way to do it, essentially. So we just backed off the 4 screws, and that allowed us to move the frame up and down. And the way we moved it up was we just wedged a 4x4 post down here that was pretty long, and I just lifted it up, and then we just pretty much screwed right into the base once it got up to the right height. So I did shoot a laser line on top, and that's how we figured out how high we needed to get it. So that's pretty much it. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Very informative episode, I hope. And I'll catch you guys next time on JT Time. See y'all real soon here on JT Time.
Goodbye.